One quiet morning in 1993, the peace of Baihe Town, Zhejang Province, China, was shattered when the body of Yang Jinfei, a staff member at the Tian Bei Hotel, was discovered in a small room. Her death, marked by mysterious clues, sparked the beginning of one of the most intriguing murder cases in this rural area. For over 2 decades, the case seemed destined to fade into obscurity. However, more than 20 years later, it was unexpectedly solved when fingerprints from the crime scene matched a criminal record. A chain of crimes, hidden secrets, and the relentless efforts of law enforcement ultimately brought justice to the deceased. Stay with us until the end of the video as we unravel the dramatic and unexpected twists in today's case. The unusual death of a hotel employee. On the morning of March 19, 1993, around 7 a.m., Feng Julin, 44 years old and the owner of the Tian Bei Hotel in Baihe Town, Zhejiang Province, China, started his day as usual. The Tian Bei Hotel was a modest establishment with just one employee, Yang Jinfei, who often stayed overnight at the hotel due to her home being far away. That morning, Feng noticed something unusual. Jinfei did not appear to clean as she routinely did. Her bedroom door remained closed, and no sounds came from inside. After repeatedly knocking with no response, he decided to unlock the door and check. When he entered the room, he saw a thick red quilt covering the bed, shaped as if a person was lying face down underneath. Calling Jinfei's name yielded no reply. Feng pulled back the quilt and was met with a horrifying sight. Jinfei lay motionless, face down, her hands tied behind her back with a thin cord. A floral red scarf and a black 2-core electric wire tightly bound her neck, while a stocking was stuffed into her mouth. Panicking, Feng tried shaking her body, but there was no reaction. Turning her over, he realized with certainty that Jinfei was dead. He immediately ran to a nearby household for help. The neighbor quickly rushed to the local police station to report the incident. By 8 a.m., 2 police vehicles from the Tianjin County Police Office arrived at the Tian Bei Hotel. Officers swiftly cordoned off the scene, keeping curious onlookers at a distance, and began interviewing Feng Julin. Feng described the victim, Yang Jinfei, as a 29-year-old native of Xinshi County, Zhejiang Province, who had worked at the Tian Bei Hotel for nearly a year. Due to the distance from her home, she usually stayed overnight in a small staff room at the hotel. According to Feng, Jinfei was hardworking, serious about her job, humble, and polite, leaving a positive impression on him and the hotel guests. Feng stated that during her time at the hotel, Jinfei had no known conflicts with anyone, and he could not imagine any reason someone would want to harm her. This brutal and unexpected murder shocked both him and his wife. Clues at the scene. Initial police assessment. After taking testimony from Feng Julin, the police began their investigation at the scene, carefully examining every detail in the victim's room for evidence and clues that could lead to identifying the perpetrator. The mysterious nature of the case shocked the small town of Baihe, and the investigation was immediately launched to uncover the truth behind Yang Jinfei's death. In 1993, the Tian Bei Hotel, the site of the murder, was essentially a small roadside inn with a single floor. Despite its designation as a hotel, Tian Bei offered only a few amenities beyond a basic inn, including a small dining area. The room where Yang Jinfei stayed was located at the end of the hallway, where she often stayed overnight for work purposes. Yang Jinfei was found motionless on the bed. Her body showed no fatal injuries or scratches indicative of a struggle, except for bruised marks around her neck, suggesting she had been strangled to death. The victim was fully clothed, her attire neat, and there were no signs of sexual assault. The time of death was estimated to have occurred sometime during the previous night or early morning. The lack of evidence of a fierce struggle led investigators to believe the perpetrator had subdued and attacked her in a sudden, calculated manner. Closer inspection revealed that the drawer of a wooden vanity table in the victim's room had been pulled open fully, and the contents were disheveled. This detail led police to suspect that the perpetrator might have broken in with the intent to steal. However, the hotel owner, Feng Julin, claimed there were no valuable items in the hotel, aside from some canned and dried food, which might have been taken. During their search, investigators focused on collecting fingerprints from objects in the drawer. Forensic technicians successfully extracted a clear fingerprint from the edge of the drawer. After comparison and analysis, they confirmed that the fingerprint did not belong to Yang Jinfei, who was the sole regular occupant of the room. This strongly suggested that the fingerprint belonged to the perpetrator. Inside the drawer, police also found a white envelope with several drops of dried blood on its surface. This discovery led them to speculate that, in the absence of a struggle, the blood might have come from the perpetrator being injured while attempting to pry open the drawer. A forensic analysis confirmed that the blood belonged to a person with blood type O, which did not match the victim's blood type AB. On the floor, investigators discovered a clear shoe print. Measurements indicated the perpetrator wore wedge-heeled shoes size 40, suggesting the suspect was a man approximately 1.60 to 1.70 meters tall. Police theorized that the perpetrator likely had experience evading investigations, possibly with a history of theft or a criminal record. Unexpected information from the family. Suspicion of the victim's husband. With initial clues in hand, the police in Tianjin County expanded their investigation locally. Unexpectedly, a tip from the victim's family raised suspicions. Yang Jinfei's mother, Zhao Jiamin, who had been diligently caring for her 8-year-old granddaughter, Zhang Shaoan, suddenly changed her attitude after her daughter's murder. She became indifferent, cold, and even forced the little girl out of her home, leaving her dependent on others for shelter. This abrupt change in behavior prompted the police to suspect that there might be a hidden secret behind the murder. Local authorities quickly approached Zhao Jiamin to interview her. From her first words, Zhao surprised investigators by claiming that her son-in-law, Zhang Xiaohui, was the one who murdered her daughter. According to Zhao, she had vehemently opposed Yang Jinfei's relationship with Zhang Xiaohui, but the couple was resolute, even threatening to elope. Left with no choice, she reluctantly approved their union. After the birth of her granddaughter, Zhang Xiao and Zhao gradually warmed up to her son-in-law and set aside her initial prejudice. However, everything changed when Yang Jinfei started working at the Tian Bei Hotel. Zhang Xiaohui grew increasingly dissatisfied with his wife, suspecting her of infidelity at her workplace. Every time Jinfei visited her family, Xiaohui would create conflict, exacerbating their marital tensions. Zhao admitted that her anger toward her son-in-law had led her to take out her frustrations on her granddaughter, ultimately driving the child away. While her claims lacked concrete evidence, the police documented her testimony for further investigation. Based on Zhao Jiamin's allegations, the police quickly sought out Zhang Xiaohui, Yang Jinfei's husband. At the time, Xiaohui, 31, worked at a pillow manufacturing plant in Xinjiang County, Zhejang Province. In his testimony, Xiaohui stated that on the evening of March 18th, he was working the night shift with colleagues at the factory and had no time to leave the premises. To verify his alibi, police interviewed Xiaohui's co-workers at the factory. All of them confirmed that he had been stationed at the production line throughout the shift, leaving only briefly for restroom breaks, which would not have provided enough time to commit the crime. Despite this, the police collected blood samples and fingerprints from Xiaohui to compare with the evidence found at the crime scene. The analysis showed no matches, leading to Xiaohui's removal from the initial list of suspects. The unusual aspect was Zhao Jiamin's unwavering belief that her son-in-law was the murderer. However, investigators concluded that her grief and shock over her daughter's death might have clouded her judgment. They also ruled out the possibility that Xiaohui hired someone to commit the crime. as he lacked the financial resources and no evidence supported this theory. Filtering suspects. Investigation reaches a deadlock. To solve the case, the authorities decided to expand their investigation. On the second day after the murder, the Tianjin County Police Department established an internal task force, mobilizing over 80 officers to comb through the area surrounding Baihe Town. The primary targets of the investigation were males aged 20 to 40, standing between 1.6 to 1.7 meters tall, with particular attention to those with prior theft convictions or recent injuries to their hands. After several days of extensive questioning and examination, the police shortlisted 141 local residents matching the criteria. Of these, 130 were ruled out after initial interviews, leaving 11 individuals with questionable backgrounds. Among these were 5 individuals with past theft convictions, and the task force shifted its focus to these suspects. One suspect of interest was Wang Cheng, who had been detained for 49 days in 1990 for stealing 700 yuan from a private residence. When questioned about his presence in Baihe Town, Cheng stated that he had visited a friend, Zhang Chao, in Meishantu village on February 26th, but had returned home later that day. On the night of the murder, he claimed to have been playing cards with friends at his house and insisted he never left. After collecting his fingerprints and interviewing his friends, the police found no evidence linking Cheng to the crime. 3 additional suspects were gradually eliminated from the list, leaving only Wang Jiajuan, who mysteriously disappeared after the murder, raising further suspicion. A former elementary school classmate revealed that Jiajuan had been seen with a fresh bandage on his hand. When questioned about the injury, Jiajuan hesitated and avoided providing a clear explanation. In 1993, technological limitations made it impossible to track Jiajuan via phone or modern tools. The sole lead was that he had previously worked odd jobs in an industrial park near Hangzhou. After 2 days of careful investigation, the police located Jiajuan at a factory. When approached, Jiajuan panicked and attempted to flee, but was apprehended by 2 officers stationed near the factory entrance. During a preliminary inspection, the police observed that Jiajuan's hand had indeed sustained a recent wound. Still wrapped in fresh bandages, he was taken to the Tianjin County Police Station for questioning and a blood sample. Forensic experts confirmed that Jiajuan's blood type was O, consistent with the blood found at the crime scene. However, his fingerprints did not match those retrieved from the scene. While this did not completely exonerate Jiajuan, the police theorized that the crime might have involved a group, with Jiajuan being just one of the perpetrators. When asked about his whereabouts on the night of March 18th, Jiajuan claimed he had been drinking at a bar called Shangzhen with 2 friends. During his time there, he got into a verbal altercation with another local group, which escalated into a physical fight, leaving his hand injured. Fearing retaliation, Jiajuan fled Tianjin County the next day and sought work at the Hangzhou factory. To verify his story, the police questioned Jiajuan's 2 friends. Their accounts confirmed Jiajuan's alibi, establishing that he had no time to commit the murder that night. New suspicions and a fresh direction for the investigation. Once again, the investigation reached a dead end. The atmosphere in the Tianjin County Police Office was tense, with the task force exhausted after days of relentless pursuit. However, their determination to uncover the true perpetrator pushed them to reanalyze every detail of the case. Meanwhile, rumors began to spread throughout the local community. Some accused the Tianjin County Police of incompetence, doubting their ability to solve the case. Others speculated that Zhang Tianhui, the victim's husband, might have orchestrated the crime out of resentment over his wife's alleged infidelity. Though Zhang Tianhui was deeply troubled by these rumors, he was powerless to stop the escalating gossip. Around this time, a new lead emerged. Some locals, including Dung Camphai's mother-in-law, suggested that the victim might have been involved in shady activities at the Tian Bei Hotel, hinting at the possibility of illicit sex work. Initially, investigators dismissed this information. However, given the prevalence of unlawful activities at roadside restaurants and motels, the task force decided to explore this angle further. The Tian Bei Hotel, situated along the bustling National Highway 104, became the focal point of this new line of inquiry. Police questioned Feng Julin, the owner of the Tian Bei Hotel. However, he adamantly denied any illegal activities occurring at his establishment. After thorough verification, the police concluded that the Tian Bei Hotel operated within the law and was not involved in prostitution. Nevertheless, this line of inquiry raised a new possibility. Truck drivers frequently stopping at the hotel might have had conflicts with the victim, leading to her murder. The task force decided to investigate the drivers who had visited the hotel around the time of the crime. They approached Zhu Shuiqi, the wife of Feng Julin and co-owner of the Tian Bei Hotel, for information about business activities on the night of the murder. Zhu recalled that around 10 p.m. that evening, a large truck transporting piglets from Wanling had stopped at the hotel. 3 men had entered the establishment but left shortly after, as all the food had already been sold out. With this lead, the police broadened their investigation to include nearby eateries and the truck drivers frequently traveling along the highway. During this process, they identified one truck driver whose behavior and schedule raised suspicion. This new lead brought fresh hope to the task force, marking a potential breakthrough in their arduous and lengthy investigation. The truck driver's statement: the investigation hits another dead end. According to Daiji, a restaurant staff member, on the night of March 18th, a young truck driver with an injured hand came to eat at their establishment. After finishing his meal, the driver hurriedly left in a blue truck with a license plate registered in Wenzhou, reportedly ending with the number 5. Acting on this lead, the special task force quickly traveled to Wenzhou and coordinated with the vehicle registration office to trace the truck's owner. The truck was identified as belonging to Cheng Mo Home. Cheng revealed that his truck had indeed passed through Baihe Town on the night of the crime, but he was not the one driving it. Instead, he had temporarily hired a driver named Zhao Ming. Zhao, a 23-year-old from Wenzhou, usually worked locally but occasionally took on long-haul deliveries. According to Cheng, Zhao had abruptly mentioned a family emergency and left immediately after completing his delivery, determined not to overlook any lead. The task force tracked Zhao Ming to a small town outside Wenzhou based on information provided by the city police. Upon locating him, they conducted an in-depth interrogation. Zhao admitted to having an injury on his hand, but claimed it was caused accidentally while handling cargo. He confirmed passing through Baihe Town on the day of the murder, but denied stopping to eat there. This contradicted Daiji's account, leaving investigators puzzled about who was telling the truth. Furthermore, forensic analysis revealed that neither Zhao's fingerprints nor his blood type matched the evidence collected at the crime scene. Although investigators suspected the case might involve a criminal gang, the lack of concrete evidence forced them to release Zhao. The task force filed a nationwide investigative report through the public security system, hoping to uncover more leads. Unfortunately, years passed without any updates on the case. Despite the lack of progress, the Tianjin County Police never abandoned their efforts to solve the crime. However, as time went on, the chances of identifying the perpetrator dwindled. The case seemed destined to remain unresolved until 1998, 5 years later, when another bizarre murder case occurred. A shocking turn of events, the discovery of the mysterious fingerprint. On April 15, 1998, in the village of Kangqinshi, Baihe Town, Tianjin County, Lu Moxiu, a 32-year-old canteen owner, was brutally murdered while sleeping in the attic of her shop. The next morning, her husband, Lu Juji, found her lifeless body, strangled to death. and immediately reported the crime to the police. Upon initial investigation, the police noted striking similarities between this case and the 1993 murder of Yang Jinfei, the hotel employee at Tian Bei Hotel. Both victims were women, and in both cases, the cause of death was strangulation, resulting in asphyxiation. Additionally, male-sized footprints found at both crime scenes were of a similar size. Technical analysis suggested the perpetrator in both cases was likely between 20 to 25 years old at the time of the crimes. Lastly, both crimes targeted small business premises in rural outskirts, where the assailant broke in with the intention of theft. Given these similarities, the Tianjin County Police decided to merge the investigations into the two cases. However, the 1993 case provided limited forensic evidence, making progress difficult. The Special Task Force conducted large-scale surveys and interviews, focusing on locals and individuals with a history of theft. Over 6 months, the police interviewed more than 4,000 people and compiled 12 questionnaires. Yet all initial suspects were ruled out. Organizational changes within the police department eventually led both cases, the murders of Yang Jinfei and Liu Moshio, to become cold cases. Amidst the team was a criminal investigator named Wang Jiandong. He firmly believed that the perpetrator of the two cases was likely the same person, a habitual offender who would continue committing crimes. Wang carried case files and fingerprint records wherever he went, hoping to link them to future crimes. Despite his perseverance, over 20 years passed without any leads. Then, in late February 2014, now promoted to head of the Tianjin County Criminal Investigation Team, Wang Jiandong received a surprising call from the Sanmin County Police Department. They informed him that fingerprints from the 1993 murder of Yang Jinfei had matched a record in the local criminal database. This news reignited hope for the Tianjin County investigative team. Years of relentless effort and careful evidence collection had finally borne fruit. The fingerprint match identified the prime suspect as Wu Guanglin, born in 1975 in Jintang County, Chengdu City, Sichuan Province. However, this revelation raised questions. Jintang County is over 2,000 kilometers away from Baihe Town, where the murders took place. In 1993, with transportation being far less accessible, the police were puzzled. Why would Wu Guanglin travel such a great distance to commit murder? The new lead opened the door to a deeper investigation, promising to finally unravel the truth behind these 2 decades-old cases. The perpetrator confesses. The identities of the accomplices. To ensure accuracy, Tianjin County Police dispatched 3 officers to Jintang County to investigate further. At the local police office, they discovered that Wu Guanglin had been sentenced to 1 year and 6 months of labor reform for theft in August 1993. In January 1999, Wu and 2 accomplices were convicted of another theft and sentenced to 6 months in prison. These repeated offenses heightened suspicions against Wu Guanglin. Wu's family revealed that before the 1993 murder, he had left his hometown for more than 6 months to work in Zhejang Town, Wenling City, Zhejang Province. There, he worked as a fisherman. Acting on this information, Tianjin police traveled to Zhejang and located the fishing vessel Wu worked on through fisherman registration records. Since the vessel operated for months offshore, police used GPS tracking to monitor its movements. In the early morning of March 31, 2014, the fishing vessel returned to port. As soon as it docked, Tianjin police boarded the ship, apprehending Wu Guanglin before he could react. That evening, Wu was taken to the Zhejang police station for interrogation. To the investigators' surprise, Wu offered no excuses and readily confessed to the 1993 murder. He revealed the involvement of 2 accomplices, Zhang Xiaowen, born 1974, from Jintang County, and He Zhangtong, born 1972, from Pengzhou City, Sichuan Province. All 3 men hailed from the same village in Sichuan. A Upon learning this, Tianjin police immediately traveled to Chengdu, Sichuan Province. On April 1st, 2014, Zhang Xiaowen was arrested at his home while watching TV. Meanwhile, railway records showed that He Zhongtong had purchased a train ticket to Haikao at Chengdu East Station. On April 2nd, 2014, He Zhongtong was arrested while waiting for his train. During interrogation, all three suspects detailed their involvement in the crime. Their confessions brought clarity to the case, solving a mystery that had haunted Tianjin for over 20 years. The long-standing investigation finally reached its conclusion. The perpetrator confesses, the victim's tragic death. During the Spring Festival of 1993, Zhang Xiaowen, a resident of Chengdu, Sichuan Province, heard that assisting in fishing operations in Wanling, Zhejang Province, could be highly lucrative. After the festival, he and his two friends, Wu Guanglin and He Zhongtong, decided to leave their hometown in pursuit of wealth. However, being their first time venturing far from home, they faced significant challenges. Upon arriving in Wanling, the trio searched for work for over 10 days but failed to secure any. As their funds dwindled, they decided to steal 3 bicycles from the roadside and ride toward Hangzhou, planning to catch a train back to Sichuan. However, the journey along National Highway 104 proved grueling. After 2 days of cycling, they reached Tianjin County around 1 a.m. on March 19, 1993, at Baihe Town along the highway. Hungry and exhausted, the group sought food before continuing their journey. Wu Guanglin suggested breaking into the Tian Bei Hotel to search for supplies. After agreeing, the three quietly entered the hotel through a window. Inside the small hotel, which had only 4 rooms, they stumbled upon the bedroom of the hotel's lone employee, Yang Jinfei. While searching through drawers and cabinets for food, they accidentally woke her up. Frightened, Yang tried to scream, but Wu and his accomplices quickly subdued her, tied her hands, and gagged her with a sock. They resumed their search for valuables and food. Despite being restrained, Yang managed to dislodge the sock and screamed for help. Alarmed, Wu rushed back, covered her mouth, and strangled her from behind with a floral-patterned cloth. Yang struggled violently, so Wu, in a panic, grabbed a black 2-core electrical wire and wrapped it 4 times around her neck, ultimately killing her on the spot. After the murder, Wu was visibly shaken. While attempting to pry open a drawer in Yang's room with a kitchen knife, he accidentally cut his finger, leaving traces of blood on an envelope inside the drawer. The group stole some dried food and cash from the victim's wallet, wiped down most surfaces to remove fingerprints, and fled the scene. However, they overlooked a single fingerprint, which would later become crucial evidence. Regarding the 1998 murder of Lu Minju, the canteen owner in Daqiao village, all 3 suspects denied involvement. They claimed not to recall their whereabouts on the night of the crime. While police remained suspicious, the lack of physical evidence from the scene left them unable to conclusively link the trio to the case. As a result, the 1998 murder remained unsolved. The limited forensic capabilities of the early 1990s made it unimaginable for investigators that the culprits behind both cases were 3 young men from a distant province like Sichuan. When news broke of the capture of Yang Jinfei's killers, her family was overwhelmed with relief. The dark cloud that had hung over them for 21 years finally lifted. Yang's daughter, Zhang Xiaoying, who was just a child at the time of the murder, had since grown up. She expressed deep sorrow and outrage over the ordeal her family endured for so many years. Initially, she believed the true perpetrators would eventually face justice. However, the unfolding of events revealed truths that put the Tianjin police in an unprecedented moral and procedural dilemma. Legal controversy and a justice-filled verdict. The murder of Yang Jinfei in 1993 fell under China's first criminal law, enacted in 1979. According to Article 76 of this law, cases carrying a maximum sentence of life imprisonment or the death penalty could not be prosecuted if 25 years had passed since the crime. At the time of prosecution, 21 years had elapsed since the murder, and 2 of the 3 suspects had not reoffended during that period. This legal technicality meant that Zhang Xiaowen and He Zhengtong were exempt from prosecution, leaving only Wu Guanglin to face justice due to his criminal record from 1997. This decision outraged Yang Jinfei's family. Her husband, Zhang Tanhui, and daughter, Zhang Xiaoying, voiced their frustration and disbelief, unable to comprehend how only one of the perpetrators could be held accountable while the others went free. Their sense of injustice was palpable, adding to the weight of an already devastating loss. Faced with this controversial legal challenge, the Tianjin County Police Department engaged in rigorous internal discussions. Determined to seek justice, they decided to gather additional evidence and proceed with the case through standard legal channels, eventually forwarding it to the People's Procuratorate for prosecution. This move reflected the department's commitment to ensuring that all involved in the crime were held accountable. In mid-April 2014, the Tianjin County People's Procuratorate issued an official approval for the arrests of Wu Guanglin and Zhang Xiaowen. The decision was based on the severity of their actions and the case's significant societal impact, despite the legal exemption provided by the statute of limitations. The brutality of the crime and its implications on public safety warranted exceptional measures. The prosecution argued that sparing 2 of the culprits would undermine the very essence of justice, especially when the victim's family and society at large continued to demand answers. The case was subsequently escalated to the Supreme People's Procuratorate. In October 2014, representatives from the Supreme People's Procuratorate and criminal investigation experts from the Zhejang Provincial Police Department conducted further inquiries. After thorough deliberation, the Supreme People's Procuratorate approved the prosecution, ensuring that the full weight of the law would address this long-standing tragedy. The approval to prosecute brought a measure of solace to Yang Jinfei's family, signaling that the wheels of justice, though slow, still turned toward accountability. The final sentences were not disclosed to the public, but the decision to pursue legal action against all suspects reassured the family that their loss had not been forgotten. This case, spanning over 2 decades, serves as a testament to the enduring pursuit of justice. It underscores the principle that while justice may be delayed, it is never denied. Evil, no matter how deeply it hides or cleverly it evades, will ultimately face its reckoning under the law. For Yang Jinfei's family and the broader public, this resolution marked a significant milestone in restoring faith in the legal system and in the unyielding quest for truth and fairness. What are your thoughts on today's case? Share your opinions in the comments below for discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support our channel. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.